Rams fans, is it time to worry about Myles Garrett and Puka Nacua's injury situations? They both missed practice on Monday. We're going to get you caught up on everything you need to know and answer that all-important question on today's episode of the Rams Report, presented, as always, by Prize Picks. Guys, sign up for Prize Picks with code HMA. When you play your first $5 lineup, you can get $150 in bonus lineups if you win. But guys, as soon as there's another update on either Myles Garrett or Puka Nacua, we will be making another video. So before we dive in and give you everything you need to know, make sure you're locked in for all the Rams news you need by subscribing and ringing your notification bell. But here's the two injury situations we're looking at. So if you're not already aware, Myles Garrett has been dealing with what the Rams are broadly calling lower half soreness. It is more, I guess, specifically knee swelling. He's got swelling in his, I believe it is his left knee as of right now, that has been limiting him, and we'll dive deep on that in just 1 second. But Puka Nacua, who we're going to talk about in the back half of today's show, is dealing with a psoas injury. And I will explain everything about what that is, because I know probably 95% of you are like, what the hell is a psoas? And don't worry, I will answer that question for you on the back half of today's show, and we'll get you up to date on everything you need around number 12. But let's start with number 95 first. Myles, once again, not in uniform to start practice. He was at the facility, he was at the building, but he did not practice again on Monday. And this just continues the pattern. So ever since August began, we've seen this begin. 4 straight missed practices from August 1st to August 4th. We returned on August 5th. He participated that day. And then he stayed in through there was a rest day in between there. And then he missed the joint practice on August 10th against the Dallas Cowboys. He was ruled out of that. Did not practice on August 11th. Did not practice in the lead up to, or did practice a little bit in the lead up to the preseason game, but then was out of practice again today on August 17th, marking his 7th missed practice since the beginning of August. So, guys, I think it's time to start at least asking the question, and I'm already seeing a lot of you ask the question online. Should we be worried about this? Should we be worried about the injury situation with Myles Garrett? Should we be worried about this lower half soreness? Is this something that is going to cost him time in the regular season? We're going to answer that question coming up on today's show. But before we do that, it's time to announce the winner of our giveaway, guys, presented by Courtyard. Today's show is made possible by Courtyard, guys. Courtyard is a digital marketplace that lets collectors rip digital packs of authentic graded cards. Guys, head to courtyard.io and use code HMA for 15% off at checkout. This is what it looks like when you rip a pack on Courtyard, guys. We ripped this pack last week. We ran a giveaway all week long, and I am happy to announce that the winner of the giveaway is Nick, who replied on Twitter. His username on Twitter is the Gonzo806. So I will be sending this to you over Courtyard. I will be getting this card to you. It's a PSA 10 Dameon Pierce card. That's the highest grade that a card can receive. Guys, every card that you can pull with Courtyard is graded by PSA, CGC, or BGS. They're vaulted at Brinks, and they're insured 24/7. So, guys, head to courtyard.io and use my code HMA at checkout for 15% off. And congratulations to Nick for winning the giveaway of the PSA 10 Dameon Pierce. Make sure you stay tuned for next week's giveaway. All right, guys. Thank you to Courtyard for sponsoring our giveaway. And once again, congratulations to Nick for winning. But I'm not going to lie. I am not really that worried about Myles Garrett's lower half soreness, about Myles Garrett's swelling in his knee. This is still almost a month away from the regular season. We're a little under a month away from the first week of the regular season. But there is plenty of time for Myles Garrett to get back to 100% before we start this thing, before we get to week 1, that Thursday night against the San Francisco 49ers. And everything we've heard from everybody around the organization indicates to us that this just isn't really something to take that seriously. It just feels like typical Rams. You know what I mean? And if you've been around this team for long enough, I think you already know what I mean. But Sean McVay said Myles Garrett has some soreness in his lower half, but it's nothing to worry about. This was on August 2nd. He's missed the last 3 practices. He won't practice on Monday. But again, we were initially told this is nothing to worry about. Sean recently added this, focusing on the fact that he was 85%. He said, I don't know what 100% is going to look like, but it must be pretty good if that's 85%. We're getting to learn him. He's so tough. He wanted to be able to be out there. But listening to Reggie Scott and just kind of erring on the side of caution. So let's be real clear on one thing. Because I know there's been this narrative from Cleveland fans going back to his time in Cleveland that Myles Garrett is someone who likes to sit out of practice, that Myles Garrett is somebody who likes to hold out, and maybe this is part of that. Bullshit. Myles Garrett wants to be practicing. Sean McVay made that 100% clear. This is a decision from the Rams. This is a decision from trainer Reggie Scott. He followed. When he's been out there, he has certainly made his impact felt. But we want to make sure that when he returns to play, he's able to return to full performance and feel like himself. Guys, I said the phrase, this feels like typical Rams, and I'm going to expand on that now. This feels like the precautionary practices that we have seen the Rams employ over and over and over again, especially this offseason, though. Especially this offseason. Go back to last offseason. Everything in the lead up with Matthew Stafford. All the concern around Matthew Stafford. Of course, that's the number one thing that comes to mind. But this offseason, the way they've handled him as well. He's been rested even though he hasn't been dealing with an injury. What have they done with Byron Young this offseason, who continues to work through a chronic issue in his knee? It's been scheduled rest days. It's been scheduled rest for him. Devontae Adams on the same schedule. All of these guys, Myles Garrett and Puka included, they fall into the Tier 1 category. We'll talk about this more later, but the Rams are as protective as any organization of their Tier 1 football players, especially in a year that they know is do or die as far as winning a Super Bowl goes. They're just not going to take chances, guys. So, now that we've talked Myles Garrett, it's time to answer that long-awaited question, which has probably been burning in the back of your mind since we started today's video. What the hell is a psoas? So, Puka Nacua left Tuesday's joint practice against the Dallas Cowboys dealing with what was initially reported as minor soreness in his groin. And that's not technically inaccurate. It is minor soreness in the groin, kind of, but it's also minor soreness in a lot of other different spots. The psoas is this incredibly long muscle band that runs the entire width of your pelvic. Ryan, can we go to the psoas graphic so I can show it? But I want to show you guys this. I pulled this from Cleveland Health Clinic here. But the psoas muscle, so here you can see it. It's the red highlighted one on this nice, handy medical illustration with ilium labeled. Don't even ask me what an ilium is. I am not a doctor, guys. But the psoas muscle runs from your pelvis or your spine. It's attached to both of them in like the back of in your back, essentially. And it runs all the way to your thigh bone. So it's basically your hip flexor. It runs through your ass, through your hip, all the way down to your thigh. It's a very long muscle band, and it's a very important muscle band when it comes to movement. It is something to be highly, highly precautious with an injury around it. And we're going to expand on exactly what the Rams have planned for Puka Nacua in his own recovery, what the timeline looks like for him getting back, and what Sean McVay had to say to media around the situation today in just 1 second. But before we do that, I've got to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, guys, and that is the good people over at Prize Picks. Guys, if you've ever tuned into the Rams Report before, I know you know all about our sponsor, America's #1 sports picks app, the good people over at Prize Picks. But if you've never watched with us before or you've never played with Prize Picks, there is no easier way to get in on the daily fantasy action now that the football season is right around the corner than getting in on Prize Picks, guys. And with the social feeds feature, it is easier than ever to place a Prize Picks lineup, guys. All you have to do is go through the social feeds feature, follow one of your friends, follow one of your favorite creators. You could drop a follow on my Prize Picks profile. Jackson Durham is my username, just my first and my last name. And you can see all the lineups I've been placing lately, including this just nasty one here. 5 to win 395 season-long projections on the NFL. We got some demon picks in there. We got all sorts of stuff going on. So you guys can tell, you can fade, whatever you want to do. Just do it with Prize Picks. And make sure you take advantage of the new user offer if you're a brand new user. Play your first $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win. Just use code HMA when you sign up. That's right. Prize Picks just switched up their offer, so there's no better time to join, lock in, and win that first lineup. Let's go to HMA at sign-up to get $150 in bonus lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. Thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. We always appreciate them. So again, Puka, like Myles, did not practice today, dealing with the psoas injury, which I did my best to eloquently explain to you guys what a psoas actually is. But again, it's very similar to what Myles is dealing with and to, well, not like injury-wise, but I think like the mindset here from Rams fans should be similar to Myles, where I think we acknowledge that this is not the most serious situation. It's just the Rams being incredibly cautious with a really important guy. It's what they do. It really just is at the end of the day. I understand why there's so much concern. I get it. 100% I get it. As a fan, I worry when I see things like this. Believe me, guys. But also, it's my job as a, content creator around this team or someone who keeps you guys up to date around this team to try to play that middle path, to try to be objective with these things and put the emotion aside. And when you look at the Rams' history around these things, it's pretty clear that it's highly unlikely that either of these situations are something to be seriously concerned about. At the end of the day, the Rams just have a history of being highly protective. They're not going to rush either of these guys back, which is to their betterment, by the way. I am not complaining about this path. I am not complaining about this strategy. I want that to be entirely clear. I have so much respect for the work that the Rams training staff do. I have so much respect for the work that the Rams medical team do. As you could tell from my explaining of the psoas and probably my pronunciation of it as well, they know so much more about the human body than I do. They know so much more about medical than I do, obviously. But what I know is these two guys are tough as nails. These two guys are absolute monsters. And when they're back, they're going to be at that level because the Rams made the smart decision, because the Rams did not rush them back for practices that ultimately do not matter. For guys at their caliber, they can get up to speed faster than other guys. They've proven themselves. At the end of the day, we know who Puka is. We know who Myles Garrett is. A couple of missed reps in practice isn't going to change that. Maybe they start just a little bit slower, but they're up to speed as quick as anybody. And that's what the Rams trust in. And they understand the rest given to them is more valuable than these reps at this stage in their career. I'm not worried. I don't think you guys should be either. But if there is an update that changes anything, you know where you'll hear about it, my friends. Hit that subscribe button. Lock in with us here on the Rams Report. This is a wonderful time to hit that notification bell as well. Guys, do not miss Rams news. There's going to be a lot of injury news, I'm sure, as we roll through some actual preseason action. Every single preseason game produces injury news. We just had one go out. Actually, you know what? Before we get out of here, that reminds me. Let's talk about Keegan Trost. Can we get the Keegan Trost graphic up real quick? Sorry, guys. Hold your horses. I totally forgot. As I was thinking about injury news, I need to let you guys know. As we were getting into the studio, producer Ryan and I got an update. And that's who I was talking to there, producer Ryan. because I wanted to let him know to get this graphic up. I almost forgot in the concern around Myles Garrett and the concern around Puka Nacua, and wanted to get you guys up to date on that. We do have another injury situation that we are monitoring. We just got an update around this before we stepped into the studio, but Rams' third-round pick, Keegan Trost, the offensive tackle out of Mizzou, is dealing with a hamstring injury. This will cost him multiple weeks, according to Sean McVay. Keegan Trost will miss at least a couple of weeks here. He suffered the hamstring injury during the preseason Week 1 game against the Kansas City Chiefs. He left early in the first quarter and did not return, and it doesn't look like we're going to see him for the rest of the preseason. That's a major bummer for Trost. He was somebody who needed these reps. He was somebody who's competing with David Quessenberry to be the swing tackle, and right now, the opportunity to take that role is jeopardized, to say the least. You might even say it's entirely dashed because of this injury. I'm hoping that Trost is able to get healthy by Week 1. If we do have multiple injury situations come up along this offensive line at one time, he's going to play a role, whether it's at right guard, right tackle, or potentially even left tackle. I think in a last resort situation, Trost may get some snaps this season, so him getting healthy quickly is very important to this team. Obviously not as important as Myles Garrett and Puka Nacua and the guys we talked about on today's video primarily, but we wanted to make sure that we hit this update because, as I was just telling you guys, we keep you up to date on everything around the Los Angeles Rams. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.